All right, good morning. Happy Friday. I'm very excited about our call today. I've got the one and only real estate royalty, Mrs. Karen Polanco.
Thank you.
Do we, Polanco is your actually maiden name.
Maiden name,
And
yes.
so do you go by both names? You hyphenate? Because I've seen it all over the place. Do you just go with
It's
Polanco?
only Polanco Barcena on Facebook.
Okay, got it. Got it.
Everywhere else, it's just Karen Polanco.
Okay, so your husband gets cred on Facebook.
Yes.
Okay,
And then
gotcha.
he gets called Mr. Polanco a lot too.
Of course,
so
yeah, I understand that. Okay, very cool. So anyway, we've got a little crowd here, but I want to do some Friday Fire, and then because I want to make sure we have enough time. Karen told me that she usually cries everything, but we're not going to cry today, so no crying. So we're going to keep things very uppity up, and we're going to have fun. So
I have Kleenex.
yes, we do have
Just in
Kleenex.
case.
Correct. Yep. So Fire. A lot of things going on here at the office this last week. Lots of things going on in the industry. We had some pretty blunt conversations about the market and about the real estate commission lawsuits, which are actually starting next week, guys. So with all that, some of that's negative, but there's a lot of good to talk about as well. So who wants to start and share some fire that's happened this last week? This is where it's always the awkward part. Is just silence. Yeah.
Melissa, you start. Go.
Come on, Melissa, you got some fire.
So I'll start.
There you go. Thank you. Alberto is always like, he's like my ride or die.
Okay,
he will always come in and save the day for me. Go for it, Alberto.
So last week, and this is a good fire. Last week, while we were on the call last Friday, so I got a call, during our Zoom meeting, and it was one of my past clients that they purchased my listing. So I double-ended that deal, and it's one of the perfect sellers. They call me and say, Alberto, my husband is completed his residency here at the hospitals, and then we're moving. We need to be in December, late December, in New Jersey. They're going back where they came from, back 2 years ago. So I have a meeting, listing appointment for tomorrow. And then that's gonna be, since I know the property, they haven't done any updates or anything, and they bought it. It was my listing, and so that's one of those interesting calls that you get a seller that needs to sell like immediately. There's no time to wait. It's like, house is ready, let's put it on the market. So hopefully that should go up in the market. If hopefully next week. So it's gonna be somewhere around the price of 400,000 here on the west side.
Cool.
Great. And how much has it gone up since you sold it to them 2 years ago? They've got
Well, I haven't done the CMA yet. I'm gonna be working that later today, and then so they bought it for, I believe, 321 when I had it listed in 2021. 2021. So I got the lead directly. They called me. I set up the appointment, show the house, and then I double-ended both sides on that property. And then so I had few conversations with them within that time that they closed in last week. But every single month I send those Buffini items of value.
Mhm.
So, but during that time, maybe we talked like 2 times or 3 times. But so I'm very glad that they called me, and that's gonna be one of those nice listings, single story, 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, cul-de-sac views here on the west side. So I'm very excited about it.
Cool. Good job. And one last question for you, Alberto, on that. On the Buffini items of value, you change up the color of the envelopes, or you just do the blues?
No, for the items of value, I go something really fancy. So I don't know if you can see. Well, these are the and I have some really nice. So I have
The reason I'm asking this, guys, is because that's always been kind of a thing from Buffini is that you want to stand out, you want to change up your color and things. I think.
So yeah, so this is part of my marketing that I do with even the labels. It has my picture here. It's branded with the colors that I use for my branding, the blue, and even the stamps are really cool. But no, the items of value, I go a little bit more expensive. So even because a lot of these envelopes, they just throw away. So I put a clear, I don't know if you can see, let me get rid of the background. Let me
Oh, so
see.
this is your this is a past client, this is an A client for you.
So yes, so this
Okay.
is a clear, let me see if I can get rid of the background. Because I'm using the iPad, so
Yeah.
I'm not, hold on, let me see.
Sorry, I didn't mean to make this big to do.
Anyways, this is the clear, can you see?
We really can't, but we see a little bit of it. So
Okay.
your envelope, you've got.
So
really
this
is
a
pretty
9
clear.
by 11. So it's very professional. It's colored, double-sided, very nice. I send it to them. And it has the statistics for the MLS every month, and then some very nice data, real estate related. So it's not just any type of data. So that's what I send every month.
Cool.
And so that plus the email campaigns that I send every weekend, that's what, I keep in touch with my past clients.
Well, thank you for sharing. Good luck.
Awesome.
Thank you.
It's going to be 400,000, but you haven't done CMA yet. So let us know when you figure it all out. And I'd be interested to know, since if you've done nothing to it, what you think it's worth today versus what you sold it for 2021. That's what I was really trying to get at. Like,
It's going to be somewhere between 425 in that area.
Okay, cool. All right, good. All right. Who else?
That's awesome. Okay, my turn. I had to
Your
fire.
turn, Melissa.
He just beat me to the mute button. I was like reaching for it, and he's faster at the trigger. He's got more practice than I do. So, but I have a little bit of professional fire and personal fire. On the professional side, the listing I spoke to you all about, it got great blessing from Home Pros, and I did get a contract executed. So that was about maybe 2 days of showing, and we got a lot of great interest, and we were able to make it work with a Clearview agent. And on the personal side, it's been a long 3 months, and my husband's been in Virginia, and so he came home yesterday. And so yes, so I'm really, really happy. My heart feels whole, and yeah, so that's my personal fire, and I'm really happy. I'm smiling bigger than usual, I guess.
And your husband's home now, right?
Yes, my husband's home now too.
So yeah, you guys were like, we all partying it up while
We should have
Girl-
been, but we weren't. We were working so much.
Towards the end,
you
it
found something
was
on
like,
Hilton, right?
Mhm, he was gone for
Right.
3 months in Wyoming. Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
We have each other, and then we only
You
saw each
were,
other
yeah.
professionally.
towards the end, it was almost like, hey, Melissa, my husband was telling me, it's because you're her Isaac. And she was like,
Yeah.
coming down on me. And I was like coming down on her. And I was like, I need to vent to somebody while they're here. And he like goes to sleep like at 7 at our time. So in the evenings when I get home and I'm trying to decompress, there's nobody else I was able to talk to. And I got call and, yell at Karen.
Right. And while we've got the two of you guys talking, let's talk about November 9th.
Yeah.
Right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So November 9th is going to be the WCR installation. You're on your way out,
Yep.
and you're on your way in, correct? Is that?
Yes.
Gavel.
Now, do you serve as the past president?
Yeah.
Even though you said you're not gonna do anything anymore.
So-
You said I'm done.
No, I'm not done.
Okay.
She's so not
I'm
done.
not gonna be
She's so
done.
she got me started on this thing. So she's far from being done. I'm gonna
Okay.
be like, nuh-uh. I don't know where
they
you
have
think
me
you're going,
doing
but you gotta help me.
their retreat. which-
Okay.
So I'll be helping them with that, and then we are passing the gavel on November 9th to Melissa. So awesome, 2 Home Pros, one past president and another Home Pros
Yes.
president.
Yay. Yeah.
Love that.
Exciting. And then we have on our chair too. We got Ruth coming up, and she's really interested in that leadership pipeline that she's getting started on. So that's exciting. She's our project team events chair right now.
That's awesome. So guys,
Yeah.
what we've done as a company is we're the sheriff. We're the new sheriff in town. Is that right, Melissa?
Yes, you're the new sheriff in town, and it's a grandstand advertiser for the installation. So you will be advertised as one of our main advertisers. Yeah.
What this really means is we have to write big checks to WCR. But so we're gonna do that. We also,
What it really means is that you're partnering up with a really awesome organization and network.
that's what it
That's
means.
what it
And
Okay.
you're having
Um,
everybody's support. Yes.
And so what we're gonna do, guys, so they have individual tickets and then they have corporate tables. We're waiting to get with Melissa, try to figure out corporate tables. I think what we're gonna try to do is maybe start with one at a time, because actually there's a premium for the cost on the corporate tables, but we want everybody to sit together. So I think what we're going to do is we are gonna charge for the tickets to the Home Pros agents, but we're gonna charge what the cost is if you were to buy an individual ticket.
Oh, very.
And we'll absorb the difference, so then we can all have our tables together and be close to watch these two powerful ladies hand the gavel at each other. And so that will be exciting. So we need to get, probably Melissa, by next week, we need to like get on that. Like, I know we talked about it, but start, pushing it, because I know
And
it's
Karen's done an amazing job when she gets up there and she does her speeches. I mean, it's heart, touching. So she's got a speech preparing for us I hope, and we're looking forward to hear that too.
It's
So
back in my head right now.
and then I have to get up there and do one, and I got big shoes to fill. That's all I gotta say.
You're gonna
both-
do great.
you both are amazing. All right, sorry guys, who else with fire? Any other fire?
Oh, Tanya's on. Hi, Tanya.
Hi, how are you?
Okay.
Just getting on because I have somebody working in my house.
Hi, Miss Tanya.
Hi, how are
you?
you?
Did
Nice
you
to
hear
see
my
you.
fire?
Who's
No,
fire?
I'm sorry, I didn't. I just tuned in,
You're a good crowd.
Yeah.
but I'll hear it again. You'll tell me when.
All right, who else has got some fire to share?
Gee
Anybody?
whiz.
Okay,
Ruth.
Ruth, you got some fire?
I can't talk, I'm in the shower.
All right. Well,
So
Karen,
what she means is she's putting out the fire.
yeah. So Karen, you got some fire. You got some closings.
Yes, I actually had two close. Well, one today, and I had one Tuesday, and
That's a
so-
good week.
Yeah, it's a good
Any
week.
week with closings are good.
Yeah,
Really, any month with closings are good, right?
right.
And so, that's awesome. Oh, Julia had to go. She ended up having someone come
I
in.
just saw her.
Because yeah, she always has fire to share, but that's okay. We'll get her next time. Anybody else? Well, I have some fire to share. My mother came in town, and so today is Bring Your Mom. I'm not going to turn the camera around
Oh,
because
you
we worked
should.
really hard to get these angles here. But today is Bring Your Mom to Work Day. So my mother's never been to the office. She's been here since last Sunday, but we just haven't made it to the office yet. I did bring her to the meeting, so some of y'all met her at the meeting. So anyway, she's made it from the front door in here. She hasn't even walked around the office. So at some point after this call, we'll do that. All right. Well, I'm going to give it one last chance before we get started, and then we're going to get going here. Started with Miss Karen. Anyone else have anything they want to share? Personal, professional?
They're like, we went the tea on Karen now.
Yeah, I guess so. All right, let's get started. So we're going to go all the way back to the beginning.
Okay.
Born and raised in El Paso?
Born and raised in El Paso.
Okay.
Yes, I'll tell
And
you when I was born, but
no, that's okay. And you lived here basically all your life. You did move around a little bit, right?
yeah. So
Okay.
I I graduated from Hanks High School,
Okay.
class of '96.
Oh, you just gave your age away.
I know, I did. I just had a birthday, so people know my
Okay,
birthday.
there you go.
But I went to UT for 2 years, and then I moved over to UT Arlington. I graduated with a hospitality and hotel management degree.
Okay.
And I was immediately from 19 years old till I got into real estate in the hotel industry.
And you had a pretty interesting path through that, because you worked for, and the amazing thing is you worked for really the companies that people,
Yeah.
that's like, you went to the elite of the elite. You
So-
worked for Marriott, you worked for Hilton,
Yeah.
I think. Go ahead.
So I started off at the La Quinta next to the ballpark and Cowboy Stadium. That was my first hotel position ever.
Okay,
I answered phones and did reservations on calls because we didn't have computers.
right?
It was crazy. We handed out keys.
Yeah.
So I love telling that story because I remember it's like that dates me really bad. But and then I got on with Marriott. So I got into their management program. And I started with the Marriott. I came back to El Paso, started with the Marriott here, and then immediately went to San Antonio Marriott Riverwalk.
Wow.
So I managed, I was in a management training program for the River Center and Riverwalk for 18 months.
Okay.
Then I was
Not a bad place to be
No.
living and training.
no, it was awesome. Learned so much. You have to learn every position.
Sure.
So then after that, I got my first hotel where I was actually a front operations manager in Albuquerque. So I moved to Albuquerque.
Wow.
Then I moved to Scottsdale, Arizona, where I lived there for 4 years, and I was with Residence Inn, all the select services, Courtyards, JW Marriott, and then right before I came back to El Paso again, I was at the Renaissance. So that's when I actually went from operations to sales. I hated sales. I hated the salespeople. I was in operations. I was front desk, and we hated the salespeople. And so somebody said, "You need to be in sales," and I'm like, "I don't like salespeople."
Yeah. So,
And here I am.
so
yeah.
when you worked, fascinated by that. So I don't know enough about Marriott, but I know enough about franchising and real estate franchising and hotel franchising as well. My father, I think, as I told you, was a hotelier as well.
Mhm.
But did you work were these all corporate owned stores that you
All of
worked
them
for?
were corporate, and
Hotels,
then when I
sorry.
came back to El Paso, I transferred with Marriott Residence Inn. I became the general manager here at the one off Geronimo and
And
I-10.
that was a franchise?
That was still Marriott corporate.
Okay,
And
gotcha.
then we, like, literally 3 months later, we got bought out by a franchise.
Okay.
So then I went into the franchise part of it, where I would actually help go transition
Okay.
Marriott corporate hotels to franchise.
You were still working for Marriott, you were just working on the franchise
Yeah, so
side.
you still work for both.
Gotcha,
You got two
okay.
sets of bosses. You got Marriott and
Sure.
then you got your franchise. So
Okay.
you're still with Marriott, doing everything Marriott
Sure.
style, but you're managed by a different company.
Very cool. And so you did that.
Mhm.
What you did, so you were with Marriott for most of the time. You did transition to the Hilton properties.
yeah.
When was that? And was that here in El Paso?
So I ended up having to, well, it was a great opportunity. I went back to Arizona, to Peoria, and transitioned. This was back in 2008, market crashing.
Yeah.
It was a timeshare resort.
Okay.
Marriott bought it
Right.
and turned it into a resort.
Okay.
So I went over there. I was supposed to be there for 3 months to do the onboarding and firing and
Sure.
bringing in
Yeah,
new
of
people,
course.
the bad stuff and then the
Right,
good.
right.
And then they kept me there for a year. So I ended up moving there, and then I needed to come back to El Paso. So when I came back, there were no other positions. I was homesick. My family was here. I had just had my son. So my ex-husband and I were like basically commuting for about a year with a baby and
Oh, wow.
my 9-year-old daughter. And so then I moved to Hilton.
Okay.
And it was a hard decision because I was diehard Marriott. So Homewood Suites had a position open for their general manager. And so I moved over to Homewood, and I was there for a year and a half. And the management style of the people I was working for was completely different from anything Marriott. Not very family oriented. Can I go into this? Not very women professional driven. It was really ran by a bunch of men.
Mhm.
And it was very hard.
Gotcha.
And in the middle of all that, I got a divorce. That's how bad how much I was working. I never was home because I
Right.
was there 24/7. And I told you this story, but I guess I can.
Yeah, let's
So
yeah.
so the freeze of 2011 came around, and this hotel was brand new, and everything, all the pipes, none of them were insulated. Back then they didn't insulate. This was a brand new hotel, so they should have insulated. My whole hotel froze, all the sprinklers, everything in the hotel. I mean, nobody could, like, we had to shut down the water, and the sprinklers were busting out of the ceilings. It was crazy. And I didn't go home for like 3 days. Nobody could take showers. We were transferring people over to other
Oh,
hotels.
goodness.
It was a S show, to say the least. But I spoke up as a woman, and I was basically told that I would, what's the word that I use, that
I remember you telling me
I
that.
told you,
Like, wow.
I got basically asked to leave the company because I wasn't going with the management. Well, I can't remember the word I used.
I don't remember.
I can't remember, but basically when you're not listening to when you stick up for yourself and you're not listening to what your managers are telling you. We had our corporate office was in Dallas. They wanted everybody to come in from Dallas. I couldn't get anybody to come in locally from El Paso to fix
Were you
anything.
insubordinate?
Insubordinate.
Okay.
I was insubordinate. Can you
Trying to
imagine?
remember, trying to remember my corporate
Imagine
names,
that
yeah.
was insubordinate. So I got a good severance. I was very hard, I didn't know what else to do, but in those hotels that I was at in El Paso, they were extended stay, and I would always see people relocating to El Paso,
Sure.
and I would refer them off. I have a lot of family in real estate, so I'd refer them off. And then I would look and see how much they sold that house for, and I'm like, man, I'm in the wrong business.
Right.
So I'd get a gift basket and, a thank you for referral. And then I'm like, I need to get into this business. Well, that flood was like a turning point in my life, because not flood, freeze. And I left and I went to the academy the same day, walked out, went to the academy and signed up for my real estate classes. And the rest is history.
We have so many stories like this. Yahida was sitting exactly right here. Same thing. She worked for Border Patrol, and they told her they were going to move. They wanted to move her to Arizona or something. She didn't want to go because her mother was not well at the time. And the same thing. The same day that she left, she couldn't do it, and they said, "Well, we'll have to give you a severance package."
Yeah.
She went to the academy, and I think there's 2 or 3
That's
other
crazy.
stories that way. Yeah, that is amazing. And of course, you were set up well because you had a severance, I
Yes.
guess, in place. So
Yeah.
that gave you. And that's the hardest thing for some people to get in this business is that,
Mhm.
that they try to transition from a full-time. We've got quite a few people here that are trying to transition from full-time job to
Mhm.
full-time real estate, and it's so hard walking away from the benefits, walking
Yeah.
away from that weekly paycheck. I mean, I did the same thing, and I was in real estate for many years, and I owned my own company, and then I went to the corporate side. Thought that would be a short time, and 12, 15 years later, I was still doing the
Yeah.
corporate thing. And so to kind of go back and say, when Penny's like, move to El Paso and come buy into the companies, I'm like, yeah, and it's hard, and there's still days that are kind of like, gosh, those days are hard. But
Yeah.
tell me, I'd love to know. So you get into real estate.
Mhm.
Tell me how your launch into real estate was, because everybody's got a different story. Some come right out of the gate, some take forever. How was your launch?
So being in sales for so long and being, being from El Paso,
Right.
I started building my business before I got my license.
Gotcha.
So I was letting everybody know that I was getting my license, and it was just, a matter of time. And then I didn't pass my test the first time. So it was like, I'm gonna get my license tomorrow. I can sell your house. And then it took me it took a little bit longer. I was very blessed
That's a little humble pie there.
to learn. I started with Scott Kesner at
Okay,
The
sure.
Edge,
Great.
and I was able to start the training. And I mean, some of the best training I've ever had was with Scott. And I mean, I went, gung ho, and I did, I think, 3 million my first year.
Wow.
And
That's
then,
great.
yeah, and and then I had my dips. I went back to the hotel industry twice, actually, since I've been in real
Really?
estate. They called me back from the Wyndham to do revenue management, and so I went back to full-time and then transitioned to part-time. That was about a year. And then it was awesome because I had great management. They knew that I was going out and also showing houses during my lunch hour and, whenever I could. And then I opened up a hotel in Santa Teresa, about 8 years ago.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And then I just finally, what, I'll be honest, I was a single mom.
Mhm.
And so I had to have those 2 jobs. So I did real estate and hotels.
Mhm.
And I just could never get away from it. It's like the hotel business would
Yes.
just keep pulling me back. But my passion was real estate. And luckily I met my husband in 2016. Well, I didn't meet him. I met him in high school, actually.
Okay.
But we got together in 2016.
Right.
And I was finally able to just do real estate full time. So I've been real estate full time since 2016.
Wow.
But
12 years, but out of the 12.
yeah.
So
The first 4 years,
yeah.
I couldn't totally
Gotcha.
get out of it. Because, working on commissions hard, and then I was a single mom of two children. So
Amazing. So, yeah, and I think this is the hardest part for anyone that tries to go from that corporate stuff, especially if you do something that is, and I'm sure it was the same with the hotel world. The hotel world is a very small world, just like the corporate real estate world is very small. So we would know people, I hate to say incestuous, but we would know people that if like when I worked at Realogy or whatever, we would know people that worked at Remax and vice versa. We would all kind of jump around from Keller Williams to this and that in the jobs. So the problem with that is when you're known that you can do a certain task well.
people keep calling you back.
Correct. And so
Yeah.
since I've been here, I've had 3 or 4 calls, and I've had to just say, okay, I gotta stop because that's noise and it's very alluring in some of these roles for people to call you back and say like, hey,
Right.
you know, because you know, all it takes is a bad day and any type of you know, when you're an entrepreneur or a salesperson or whatever to go, gosh, what the hell am I doing?
And you know, and the
So,
people in the corporate world, they feel like they see real estate sometimes as a hobby
oh, of course.
or an extracurricular
Yes,
job.
yes.
And so they're like, what are you doing in real estate? You need to be back in the hotel. I'm like, wait,
Right.
we don't make money there.
No, I think
Or
I think
as much.
I think there's a lot of people that have that idea. And I mean, let's face it. I mean, other than Texas, which is very different, you know, having the amount of hours to take it. I mean, even like where I'm from, Florida, you know, it's 63 hours to get your real estate license. It's easier to get a cosmetology license. I mean, sorry, it's easier to get a real estate license. That's nothing against cosmetology. I'm saying it takes 6 months to get a cosmetology license in Florida. You can go a full week, you know, and
Yeah.
go a 1 week class and you're done before you get your real estate license.
Yeah.
And we're
crazy.
basically like doing stuff like what a lot of attorneys do. It's
Yeah.
crazy. So, okay. So you get into real estate, you've gone back and forth. You really didn't like sales at first, but you did get in on the sales side on the hotel side. So
Yeah.
you started getting your feet wet in that. Tell me, I would think from the operations side, there's a lot of logistics in place you have to do there. There's a lot of project management stuff that you have to do, especially if you're doing transitions. When I ran a franchise, I had transition people who worked for me.
Yeah.
And they would bring out their transition stuff. I couldn't even read it. I didn't know it was, you know, literally flowcharts of this and all this kind of stuff. Has that helped you in your real estate? Because I think the biggest problem with a lot of real estate agents is they're just trying to do so many different
Yeah.
things. You know, you're the circus leader in the real estate transaction. You've got about 50, 60 different
Yeah.
people that are around you, and you're the ringleader, and you're trying to manage chaos, and it's
Right.
pretty hard to manage chaos.
Well,
So how did hotel work help from sales, but also the operations help you?
so two parts of that. So managing people, mentoring people,
Mhm.
you're managing, you're managing so many departments, you're managing, you know, managers that have been there forever and
Right.
and being a young female and then being promoted because you have, you know, the degree or you have experience is hard. But you have to like blend with every personality, especially in El Paso. When I was here, you know, I'm dealing with, you know, the housekeepers and a lot of them, you know, some of them don't speak English, and they're the hardest workers ever, you know, and
Sure.
and I had to go through the part where we did started e-filing and having to let some of the hardest workers ever go. That made me very humble too and appreciative of the people I work with. So that, you know, operations part, I think the management part of mentoring people, and that was I think one of the biggest things I took away from that, you know, that industry. But the sales part of it is, you know, just you're in hospitality.
Sure.
So you're always trying to find something to do, you know, to make somebody's life better. And, you know, the customer's always right. That's how I treat all my clients. You don't get argumentative, you're calm, you listen, you have to listen to everything that they're saying. And I think that sales side is probably one of my biggest benefits is with my clients is that I have to sit back and listen and then come up with a solution. And an immediate solution sometimes. And so that's helped. And then when you're with a corporation like that, you have huge goals. I mean, huge goals. Like they're like, you know, and you can get fired if you don't hit those goals. Luckily in real estate, you don't get fired.
Right.
But so you learn to cold call, you learn to make telemarket, you learn to do all of those things where you're trying to drive new business. I used to do the water industry. I used to have to go to the maquilas and go into their big corporations to get their, you know, clients that were coming in from out of town.
Wow.
And so I did that for about 3 years with my sales team.
Wow.
And had to get my, you know, my F1 something card. I can't remember what it's called, but to be able to go into the maquilas. So that was a huge learning experience. And
How cool is that?
so when you're constantly searching for business,
Right.
that's how I think that's helped me in real estate is that I'm constantly searching for business. There's no, you know, there's always somebody that's going to sell a house or need to buy a house.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. One of the things, and I see a couple people that know who they're on right now, that I work with a lot as far as just personally coaching or helping with them stuff is that, you know, really tapping into your network. And so of course you lived here, but you also ran several hotels. And so was there a point where you started looking at things going, okay, I'm going to build my sphere of influence. I have really touched so many people, and
Mhm.
and maybe some of them only know my face or know my name, and maybe they're not that like we're talking with Alberta, that A group kind of people, past clients or raving fans and things. Did you have you been able to kind of build off of
Oh,
that?
yeah.
Okay.
So I would say at least 30% of my sales now are from the hotel industry.
Amazing.
I joined the Hotel Motel Association,
Okay, great.
so I'm still there. I still go to, I haven't done as much this year because the Women's Council, but I've been
Right.
involved. So I go to their luncheons, I go to their events. So they still see me and I'm still part of it. And it's awesome because they're very welcoming. And so
And I would assume, tell me if I'm wrong, and maybe these are more higher level staff, but you would probably open up the doors of homeownership to some people that never thought they could even
Oh,
have a
I sold, so there was this lady, she was our breakfast lady at the residence and
okay,
her name was Grace.
right,
And she rented for so long. I mean, she always rented, but her husband had passed and he was military. So I knew that she had his VA benefits. And so about 3 years ago, and she's never owned a house and she's probably in her late 50s
Mhm.
and she has her first
I
house
love
now.
that.
And she went through VA. And so those are the good ones. And then I have the management people,
Of
that call me first.
Sure.
But-
Well, I always, I think he was on here. I don't know if Jose Baez is on here, but he was earlier, and he told me he sat in the same chair, and it always stuck with me that he went every morning to get a coffee at a convenience store. And there was just a lady that worked at the convenience store, and somehow or another, he finally had a conversation with her, and she just assumed she could never. I don't know. I want to think she was in middle aged, but that she could never buy a home, and he was able to sell her home from that home. So I think he said he could equate to at least 7 transactions,
Referral.
immediate referrals from her that actually sold. And again, probably because she was telling her friends, and their friends going, how the heck did you buy a home, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden she's like, no, you can.
Yeah.
And so I think that's awesome. And that's why I've always tried to tell people, like, you gotta dig deep. You gotta think like, and that's the beauty of social media now, I think. And I say this all the time to people, is like, we have a free service that, because it's really easy back in the day when you and I started, like, okay, I need to get their address, I gotta get their phone number, and how am I gonna find all that? Now it's just like, just find them on Facebook. And we don't really need to mail them some. If we do, that's great, we'll get that later.
Yeah.
If we're mailing them some, we're already engaging to enough, having a conversation with them. And so I think that's great. So on the customer service side, you talked about, every year, and that's the thing in the hotel business also, right? The customer's right. Like, you could say that the customer could say the sky is purple, and you could say it's blue as could be. It's not purple,
Oh, it's purple.
but it's
when
purple,
they're they
right?
purple.
So do you have any instances in real estate that you've, like, I mean, it's been that you've had to really kind of like bite your lip and say, okay, and have you finally gotten to the point where I can fire this client? Because I mean, we are able to fire clients. Or do you just let them be right all the time?
No, I don't let them be right, but I explain it to them in a way that makes them understand that they're
Okay.
not right.
Okay.
So it's really about your approach. I have, so if we want to go back to some non-right, I had one instance in the hotel industry where I was actually in Dallas
Mhm.
working and this was actually when I was in college, at the Sheraton, and it was when American Airlines went on strike, so everybody was missing their flights, and we had a schizophrenic guy who came over and jumped over the counter.
Oh, Lord.
His meds were on his flight and he didn't have them. So, I mean, literally had to get people off of me. That was scary. So I've had it. So, I mean, I could write a book on some of the scary stories. So not all the customers are right all the time, but he teaches you patience. It teaches you to understand people and what they're coming from, because I mean, he wasn't his fault. And I always see it that way. Like I could have called him every word in the book because of what he did,
Right.
but it wasn't his fault. And he was put in a position where he was, lashed out. I had people when that freeze happened, I had everybody yelling at me, but then I had the people coming down and saying, you're doing such a good job. You're doing everything you can, and don't let them beat you up. So I don't let people beat me up. I'm very nice, very humble, very sweet, I think, but I don't get beaten up. And if somebody's wrong, we all have the way, it's our approach.
Sure.
That's what I see.
Love that. Okay. So born and raised, lived all over, basically from Dallas to to Scottsdale and everywhere in between, San Antonio as well. But your roots are here. Let's talk about, how you go about your business, because is it mostly referral business? Is it mostly serious
I am
influence?
very blessed at this moment in my life to say most all my clients come from referrals.
Okay.
But I'm always like, you hear somebody, I'm like these ears, you hear somebody in a restaurant, and I approach everybody. So I'm not shy, you
Right.
can tell. So I'm always looking for new business. But yeah, I am very blessed. I will say in the last 2 to 3 years that it's come from referrals.
I can remember, and you weren't with us, and you probably don't remember this at all because it was just what you do, but it stood out to me. I want to say it was at the town hall that we had at the Starlight just over a year ago. And you approached me out of the blue and just like, I know who you are, or something, or whatever. And you was just like, and it stood out. And I was like, wow, like you had a presence. And I was like, it was very impressive. And I was in a good way. I mean, it was just like, it wasn't, you were introducing yourself, but it was, a lot of people are I'm that way. I'm kind of like standoffish a lot. And so I think I'm an introvert, extrovert, or vice versa, whatever that is. But you seem to like be very much like, I'm gonna go in and tell this person.
So
I
I am an extrovert,
Yeah.
but in the public eye.
Right.
If you would see me when I get home, I'm like, everybody leave me alone.
Sure. You're done.
And I shut down and I'm like, I don't want to talk.
Right.
But I think everybody has that because I feel like I have a lot of energy and then you can only have so much. So some people ask me, do you ever sleep? And I'm like, yes, you don't know what I do on Sundays. I'm just like couch potato.
Sure.
But I learned that from being in the hotel industry because you have to say hi to everybody. You have to greet everybody, and you just can't be shy. And nobody, if they want to say, "Oh my God," so back away, lady.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay, but still do it.
I love that. So do you have, and I think a lot of people, you've been doing this now 12 years, is that right?
Mhm.
And I think a lot of people just get into rhythm, and they don't even realize they have systems and processes and things like that. I know when I was selling before I got onto the other side, by the time I was just humming. I was probably doing the things I was supposed to do, but I didn't sit there and think about like, oh, today I've got to write 10 note cards, or I got to give out 10 business cards. Do you have any systems or processes, or is it all kind of just like, it just kind of happens?
Okay, so I want to be so organized.
Okay.
I want to be so bad. It's like my New Year's tradition every year.
Every year. Yeah.
Every year I'm like, get more organized. But for the most part, I'm the messy organizer or organized person. Like I know what I'm doing. I know what I need to do. I know that if I feel like I had an unproductive day, because there's, we feel like, what did I do today?
Yes.
I'll go through my phone and go, okay, I'm good. I made like 50 phone calls today. I had like 30 texts.
Yeah.
So just to justify that, I didn't have the system in place, but
You gotta validate
it is
yourself.
there. Yeah.
Okay.
Because there's times, and it's funny because my husband works for the railroad, so he'll come home, all different hours. And there's times I'm still in my pajamas and he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, you want to see? Let me show you. And I'll pull out my phone and I'll show him everything I did. He's like, oh, wow. And I didn't even get a chance to take a shower that day because I was so busy.
Yes.
And that's the difference that, the great thing about real estate is we are busy. Sometimes I would love to have the systems. I'd love to have the time blocking out. And it's seriously my goal. It's going to be my goal again. It's always my goal, but I don't always do it.
So
I don't know if that's a good answer.
So every day is a different day for Karen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And I think there's a lot of, I'm a little bit like that too. And then I can look at someone like I'll talk to Alberto and I sit there and I feel like, gosh, because this guy's like got systems and things in place.
Yeah.
like I need to do this every day. And I got to do that.
He was just inspired me right now.
I know.
Like, I'm going to do buffet
I know.
right now.
And he's just always, and so, and I think I'm probably where you are. Okay, this year's gonna be different, or this day is gonna be different, or this week, right? So what do you, but there are things you probably know today that you probably wish you knew when you first started. Are there things you know today? Did you try to make sure that the customer was right too many times, or let them, rule the roost because of coming from the hotel side, maybe when you first started real estate, or today you're like, okay, I got your number, buddy, or what, what is there anything that you can point a finger on, say, I wish I knew that then?
I think one of my, I guess, things that I wish I would do better.
Mm,
Or maybe not, I probably knew to do it back then, but I didn't do
right.
it, was more follow-up.
Yeah.
And keeping in contact with my past clients more than I already do. I mean, I do the Christmas cards and I'll do, you know, some of the emails, you know, the email blast every now and then. But I mean, if I'm getting this much from the clients that I'm not really keeping up with,
Yeah.
how much more would I be getting with the ones if I did? So I really think I have a good sphere of past clients that I just need to keep on touching and doing all those things, like maybe the bikini thing.
Sure.
So I think that's a goal. So thank you, Alberto.
Yeah, one of the things that stands out with me with Alberto, sorry, Alberto, I don't mean to keep bringing you up, but is that when he was here, he talked that same question. I think his answer was, if I could do the things, because he's really systematized himself, systematized himself, is that the right word? If he could do the things when he first, you know, he's been in business 20 years now. If he could have done them back then, you know, he'd probably be in a lot different place in his life right now,
Yeah.
as far as, you know, building wealth and things like that, because yeah, there was so much follow-up, so much things that just kind of left, you know, and when he was going, he was crazy just selling new constructions. It was always for the next customer, and it wasn't
Right.
focusing on the past customer. I got that right, Alberto? Yeah. Oh, okay.
That is correct.
Yeah.
So for 10 years
Yeah.
straight, I did specialize on new homes, and I was just chasing the next client. I never in 10 years follow up with any of my past clients. I was just so busy trying to get the next buyer to sign the contract. And never, the only thing and that was because he was paid by our broker on Christmas. And you remember, Melissa, at the end of the year, the builder, I mean, our broker will send out postcards, Christmas postcards to our past clients. So that was the only touch that I had with my past clients for 10, 11 years. And then after that, then I started with the Buffini system.
And I think follow-up is, so, you know, I do the same exact thing you guys do. My target market's different, which is obviously going, you know, trying to build the company, going after agents, going after loan officers, things like that. And it's interesting, you know, and you know this, Alberto knows this, it's easy to preach to the choir, right? And so we had a huge month in August and September as far as bringing people in. Well, you know what I did? I focused 100% on trying to get all those people in, and I'm in the same boat now. I'm like, oh crap! It's like, you know, I've got this pipeline that's like, you know, and all of a sudden I'm sitting there going, that's embarrassing. Like, that's not good. Like, you know, I should be doing it. So, you know, it's funny. Like yesterday, to your point, I was texting people at 3:30, 4 in the morning. Like, of course, after I was doing that, I was like, I should be texting people at 3:30, 4 in the morning. That's
Yeah.
when I wake up.
So
But
you can schedule that, you know.
yeah,
that.
I know. And so for any of you that got a text at 3:30 in the morning, I apologize. But my point was that, you know, I think in real estate in general, that's the hardest part is to keep it going. And it's not real estate, actually it's just sales, right? The difference is that we have a longer you know, runway than most, you know, any sales, you know, you do your hotel sale. I mean, if you're doing groups, I guess it's different, but you know, or whatever, if you have a hotel sale is probably not, actually you have a long runway too. I mean, cases if you're trying to drive nights or whatever. So I have a couple more questions and we'll open it up. You're doing great that way.
Thank you.
Yeah, no crying.
Hot in here.
Are you hot?
It's
Okay. There's water right there. I'm sorry. I got the air breaking, but you just
No, it's probably
it's just the
nerves.
pressure. Yeah. Okay. So 12 years in the business. What made you? What was there? Was there some pinnacle or something that got you involved? And that's a lot, because I'm going to tell you why. I mean, and I would think my past experiences. I did it all, and at some point I said, okay, enough's enough. Like I love, you know, serving, and I served at the local, state, and national level for Association of Realtors, and it was a lot. And actually,
Answer for that.
I walked away when it was my year to be not to be president, but to be president-elect. I just said at that point it was 2007, and the rest of the world was still going well. But in Florida, you know, I had 5 offices in Florida, and we were just, I mean, we were drowning and things were not good. And we did all second homes, and so I was just like, you know what, I I've got to like now focus on my business. And that was hard. And of course, a lot of people didn't understand it because a lot of those agents were just the people that were running were either agents or they were, they were doing residential business is what I was trying to get at. And their business was still kind of humming. And I had about 200 agents that worked for me that were all doing investment properties, vacations, and that business was just dying. And so when did you get started and how do you manage that? You got family, you got all that, and you got your sales.
Okay. So right into real estate, I was told to get involved. Okay. And so I started joining committees. I joined Women's Council immediately. That was the first association I joined. Reason being, I needed a corporate structure. I couldn't just be a real estate realtor at home.
Right.
Or, I didn't have we had little cubicles and stuff, but I needed to have that going to meetings, getting dressed up to go to something and being around like-minded professionals. And that's where I found it. I found it at the board. I found it through Women's Council, and my business has never suffered. It's only grew from being involved. And this year I thought, okay, and I was a little nervous, being president, and I was like, I'm going to be so involved. This has been the best year I've ever had.
I love that.
In real estate. And I mean, and I haven't
back to Home Pros.
Because I came back to Home
Yes.
Pros,
Okay.
but I think that, so you kind of get nervous and a little bit like your clients are going to think you're so busy. They see you at the board, they see you at at Women's Council events, they see you traveling, and you're like, they're going to think that I don't have time for them as a realtor. So they're going to want somebody who doesn't have all that stuff going on. It's not true, because I have testimonials, people that do my surveys that love that they work with somebody who's so involved, who's involved with Tree Pack, who's involved with the, governmental affairs, who's involved with, advocating for women, with Women's Council. They see you on the board of directors. It does not make your business suffer. You have to balance, obviously, you have to be able to do both.
Yes.
But I will never not be involved because I need that. I need that in my life. I need going to these meetings. I need to have, when I first started, I had no voice. I just would go and I would just sit back and just listen and, learn from everybody.
Sure.
Now I feel, with the positions I've held and the things I've done, I have a voice for other realtors. I have a voice for the new community, new realtors.
Yes.
I have a voice for the realtors that think that they can't do both, because you can, and I am living proof of it. And yes, it's tiresome. Sometimes, we can say we don't sleep at night, but it's so worthwhile to have a voice at the table of everything that you do.
I love that. Since we're there, I want to make sure we leave enough a little bit of time. Sometimes these calls go over, but let's talk about that voice of women. There's a voice of women. There's obviously a lot of turmoil and a lot of things going on at the NAR level, and and a lot of that came from the sexual harassment claims, and there's a lot of turnover from that perspective. And then of course, NAR's not had a good year, and just we can all say 2023 has not been a good year for NAR. So what is the national stance from WCR, and what is your personal stance, if there is a stance, on kind of like, obviously you guys stand for everything that is not that. So tell me about that, if you mind. So
when the allegations and everything first came out, our national president sent all the local presidents, a message. One of the things was, don't talk, you don't want to,
don't answer these questions I'm asking.
As a leader, you want to keep it professional.
Yes.
Okay. You don't, it's just like everybody, guilty until, or innocent until proven guilty kind of stuff.
Right.
But they told us that if we hear our, board or everybody, gossiping, that's the one thing. Don't gossip.
Yes.
Don't start pointing fingers. And really, you want to have an opinion, but you need to keep, and when you're in this kind of position, you have to keep those opinions to yourself, because you're a leader. And people will follow your opinion. People will follow your guidance. And if you're, dishing out the bad stuff, they're gonna believe it.
Very
and
nice.
How does that make you a good leader? And you have to sit back and say, we don't know the story. We don't know the facts. It's gonna come out.
Mhm.
And we're gonna stand by the facts, not by the gossip.
Right. And is that still the stance now, even after there's been some resignations and things like that?
I choose not to answer.
Okay, no, you're fine. I'm not trying, and I'm not trying to do anything like that. I just didn't know
Yeah.
if that shifted a little bit, because that was somewhat, at least in a lot of people's mind, mission of guilt from that perspective. So it's fine.
Yeah, we're, I can't in my position say what I can't tell you what I personally feel,
Okay,
because I'm in the role that I am.
I got it.
Yeah.
So on the 13th, is that the day? When's the last day of your
Oh,
presidency?
well, okay, technically it's the 16th, but she's getting the gavel on the 9th, so
Right.
I get a 7-day break.
And you and
like,
Isaac owe me a drink, so on the
Yeah.
17th or so, well, I'll ask you that question again.
We'll actually be at the NAR conference in Anaheim,
Okay, when you get
so
back,
we'll be celebrating.
when you
but-
get back, then you guys can buy me that drink, and then we'll ask you the question again,
Absolutely.
and then you can tell me exactly how you
Okay.
feel. And I'll tell you off.
But actually, so I really can't, because I'm gonna be the Texas District Vice President next year, so in my role, my ranking,
Okay.
those are just things that, you
No, I
don't want to speak about,
And I appreciate that.
and you gotta, now, no, I'm not even gonna go there.
We're gonna move on. We're gonna move on.
Yes,
So anyway, two more things, and then we're gonna be done. I told you this before. The first thing I'd like to know is, like, tell me, I mean, you had this corporate life and you were working in many cases, especially doing opening hotels, I'm sure 60, 70, 80 hours a week sometimes. And it doesn't mean that you don't have those same type of weeks here, but what has real estate done for you? I mean, in the last 12 years versus, I mean, you have really two lives to compare, right? You had your corporate life getting out of college and 19 started working in hotels to this. What has it done for you? How's your life changed?
So I love my hotel life.
Okay.
I love everybody I met there. It's just like, it was a great life. I did talk about some of the bad,
Yeah.
that moved me over to where I'm at, but I would not take that
Right.
10, 12 years of my life back for anything. I learned so much. I met so many people, and honestly, I'm going to tell you everything we learn in real estate, and I'm not going to bash on the training, but it all comes back from Marriott. I honestly think Mr. Marriott invented the four-step sales call process. All of the things that we learn, I'm like, oh, I learned this a long time ago. But what real estate has done for me is I love helping individual people now.
Okay.
And I'm not making money for the big corporations and everything like that. I'm helping individuals make money on their investments, on their homes, getting first-time home buyers into homes. That to me is my why for why I do real estate. That's one part, but all the involvement that I'm in is my second part. I love seeing these women that I've been working with grow.
Yes.
That's when I'm gonna start crying. See? Okay.
This question always gets everyone.
I know. Okay.
Okay.
But like Melissa, she was so nervous
Right.
to start. I have Roxana, who I mentored for so long, and she's a listing agent. And I was doing rankings last night, and she's like in the top 150.
Yeah.
And just to see their numbers, to see them grow. Okay.
No, you're doing good. You're doing good. Okay. No, I get it.
But that to me, that is my why with them.
Yeah.
It's just seeing them.
So you have, and I tell this to a lot of people,
You were supposed to do that.
I know. You have the curse, and the curse is that, as much as you have drive and you want to do things and you want to build your business and you want to build your platform, whatever it be, the other side is that you really just love seeing the development and helping people and stuff. And I mean, people ask me sometimes, like, well, why do you do this or because I could go in sales and make a lot more money and have a much different life than I have even in doing this. But there's something about that. I think, whether this is my, my journey or my mission, so to say, versus your mission, but they're very similar at the end of the day. The last question is, what's next for Karen?
So, good question. I don't know.
You don't know.
I do want to start my team again. I
Okay.
miss that. I want to, I'm going to partner with Melissa, and we're going to start doing some things together. And I want my group back that I had, that I kind of left, that took a turn, left for a builder
Mhm.
that didn't work out, and I kind of dissolved my team.
Yes.
And that was another reason I woke up in the morning, was to mentor them, help them,
Right.
brand new agents. I had a lot of brand new agents. The best part about it was I walked away from it and I've seen them do things on their own that I'm just so proud of.
Sure.
But I miss them.
Yeah.
And so, and even brand new, other new agents that want to come in, because, one thing I remember when I was a new agent, I was so nervous to ask people questions. And I want to be that person that no question is bad. Come to me, even if it's your 5th time writing a contract and you forgot what goes on which line. I love helping people,
Right.
figure that out.
Gotcha.
And that's another passion of mine.
I love that. All right. Well, we've lost 2 people. I went over the
Okay.
time. You
I
did
see
great.
started crying, they
You did
left.
great. For those that are left, any questions, comments? Ms. Karen?
I love you, Karen.
I love you too.
Anything else? Did you want to say something else?
No, I'm good. I think I'm
Okay.
talked up.
Great. You've done great.
Thank you all for listening.
Anyone
to
else?
me.
Questions, comments? All right. Well, my last comment would be, this was great, and I appreciate you sharing so much. You and I had a great candid conversation when you first came back, and I learned a lot of this, but I learned so much more today. And we're just thrilled to have you on board and have you back. We want to support you and Melissa in every which way we can. I'm looking for big things. So whatever we can do as a company to
Thank you.
support you, we
This was
looking forward
awesome.
to. Yeah.
I
Well,
really
thank you.
enjoyed it.
I'm
Thank
glad
you.
you came, and I was cussing you out a little bit when
I
you canceled on me
know.
that last time.
I
That's
know.
okay. And now you and I both are going to tag team on Melissa, because she's like, I'm a little nervous about doing this. Melissa, you're up. You're coming up next.
You're gonna
soon.
see that after she does
Yeah.
just like a month or 2 months
Yeah.
in women's council, she's just gonna blossom, and she's just gonna be
Yes.
like, I got this. So
Yeah.
it does that to you.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank y'all so much. Y'all have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you.
And we will see y'all next week.
Bye.
Bye,
Thank
guys.
you.
Bye, guys. Bye, everybody.